Hi, my name's Nicole Stennett, and I'm the founder and owner of Natural Skin Health, and I'm so excited to be on this episode of The Catwalk.
Hey, welcome to another edition of The Catwalk. I'm your host, Jay Whitlow. As always, I'm joined with Chris DeGaulle over on the controls. The Catwalk's nonprofit of the week is Midland Fair Havens, equipping single mothers and their children for self-sufficient living by addressing their educational, vocational, spiritual, and emotional needs in a residential and non-residential setting. Connect with them today at mfh.org. Collaboration is paramount to the Catwalk, and the Catwalk Media Group is about empowering your brand with visual storytelling, whether it's through podcast, video production, website design, social media management, or reaching a broader audience. Connect today at thecatwalkmediagroup.com. And I am so excited to welcome to the Catwalk my special guest today. This is Nicole Stennett. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Did I say the last name right?
Yes, you got it right.
Okay. This has just been the crazy kind of last couple of weeks as I've been moving kids into college. I noticed that you're not a University of Texas grad. That's your husband.
Yes.
You went to Nevada?
Yes.
What's the mascot at Nevada?
So it's a wolf pack. So it's very similar to the UT. It's kind of like this. So it was kind of natural just to have that.
Okay, so
I could do hook 'em to the wolf pack pretty
wolf
easily.
pack.
Yes.
Okay. So I've been moving my kids in, and that's been an adventure. Did you ever have a move in like to the dorm or to apartment when you were at college?
So my very first year, I moved into like a townhome with some friends. So that was like my big move. And then fortunately, I got in a house and kind of stayed there through the rest of college. So that first one was, kind of big, and you're, leaving your parents for the first time, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Like, I have to do laundry, I have to feed myself, I have to go to class. So there's just a lot. So
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure it's been busy for you moving your kids in. And
Were your parents with you when you moved in that first time?
yes, I was fortunate to have help and not just be left alone. But
Yeah.
I remember them driving away and thinking, oh my gosh, this is on me to figure out how to take care of myself,
Yeah. Well, my youngest, we moved her in to Oklahoma City University first time. That was hard because she is the baby
Yeah.
of the family, and that was hard to leave her, and she's 7 hours away.
Yes.
The middle son, who is at Tech, this was like his fifth or sixth dorm apartment kind of thing, and we're like, we're just going to drive up there with your stuff, help you unload it, but you're doing everything else. But the daughter was like, oh, we got to go to Target, and we got to buy all this stuff, and we got to fix the room up and everything. And I've struggled with leaving them, for a long time, and people say, oh, now you're an empty nester. And I'm like, yeah, I don't like that phrase or whatever. Now, you have two twins.
Yes, I have
right? So
twins.
you're going to get to do this at some point.
Yes, my husband and I were just talking about this, that, when we have our girls go off to college, it's all at once. They'll go,
Right.
and we're like, we're going to be bawling our eyes out because we love being parents. We think it's the absolute best. So,
Yeah.
that day is going to be hard. You hear people say all kinds of things when their kids go off to college. Like, some people are excited. Some people are like, this is the beginning of a new chapter.
Right.
And it is, but man, I think we're going to take it really hard. We were both just saying, yeah, we're going to be crying the whole way wherever we drop them off. So, we'll see if they go to the same college or whatnot. But yeah, empty. Yeah, I don't really like the phrase.
I don't like
empty.
that.
Yeah.
Now, you did your graduate level at Tech, right?
Yes,
Yeah. So what was that experience like?
So I got my PA, so physician's assistant degree from Texas Tech in Midland. So a lot of people don't realize that Texas Tech's PA program is on Midland College. So they just did a huge remodel. So it actually looks like when you walk in the building, it looks very much Tech. When I went there, it looked like just an extra building that had a little Tech logo, but it was great. I mean, it's very, we had about 60 people in our class. So it was, I didn't get the experience at Tech's campus. Everything was
Right.
in Midland, but it was nice and quaint. And the whole reason I came here was to study hard. So there was no reason to get distracted by other things. So
Well, I wore the Tech hat for you
Thank
and
you.
for my son, and I'm a graduate of Tech, so
Okay.
all things Reckham.
Yep.
Our viewers, listeners may not know much about you and about the incredible program and entrepreneurship that you have started over in the Summit Center.
Yes.
So let's just dive in. Tell us, where are you from? Give us a little backstory to how you ended up in Midland.
Okay, so I grew up in northern Nevada. I grew up in a small rural community outside of Reno, and so I'm actually an ag girl. Most people don't realize that, but I grew up showing livestock and have that ag background. And then I went off to college in Reno, which is about an hour away from where I grew up, and got my undergraduate there in community health sciences. And I, was really trying to figure out, was I going to go to med school? Was I going to do something else? And I actually shadowed this orthopedic surgeon in Reno that's really well known. And he told me the biggest mistake he ever made was going to med school. And I remember thinking, okay, well, that's great, but now what do I do? Yeah. And so he's like, you should be a PA. So I started looking into it, and I was like, this is great. I have autonomy. I get to treat patients, and I don't have a long residency. I can still be mom when that comes into my life. And so I started pursuing, going to PA school. And so when I started looking at schools for PA school, I ran into someone that had gone to Tech's PA program and highly recommended it. And I was like, oh, I've heard good things about Texas. Might as well apply there. So I applied to different schools, and Texas Tech was the first place I got an interview. And so I flew into Midland at night, and one of those stories that you can't make up. Flew in, got up super early because interviews were super early. So never really saw Midland. And then I got the acceptance shortly after, and I really liked that, they had a great program, it was reputable, and that I got to start sooner than the other program. So I was like, okay, let's go to Midland. And if you ever Google Midland, it's always a lot greener. It's always a lot more. It's a lot more to it than when you get here. And so when I got here, I was like, wait, this does not look like anything that I was thinking. But it has been a complete God thing. He brought me here for several reasons, and I have loved it since. It was like, so I'm in derm, so I deal with a lot of fungus, so I always say, like, it grew on me like fungus. Just very slowly grew on me, but now Midland is home, so.
Wow, okay. Tell me about your family. Are you an only child, or do you have brothers and sisters?
So I have I'm the oldest. I have a brother, that's the middle, and then I have a younger sister, and we are super close. I'm so blessed to have my siblings. We honestly talk. I talk to one of them at least every day. Most of them, I talk to both of them most every day. And so we are really close. We, we were like all siblings. We'd fight, but we grew. My brother and I went to college together. We lived together, and so we became super close, and I'm really blessed by that. So
awesome. Well, we're glad that you're here
yes.
On the show, but also glad that you're here in Midland. It's funny you mentioned the whole fly in at night, because I had the mayor on, and I was like, I hear this all the time, and she's like, oh, I don't subscribe to that, because we should own who we are. But everybody that I've talked to who has either come in at night or came here and was like, oh my gosh, this is desolate, this is bad, or whatever, has fallen in love with the place. And I think it's because of the people, it's because of the entrepreneur spirit of the community. And so I applaud you for staying here
yes.
and doing what you're doing. So let's dive into that, because I've got lots of questions and I want to know. So tell me about your business that you've launched.
Okay. So I just launched about 6 weeks ago. I opened Natural Skin Health, and the thought behind it was to create a boutique experience where I could treat patients both with functional medicine and integrative medicine, to give patients a more synergistic approach to dermatology. It was something that I really, God put on my heart about 5 years ago, and just really encouraged me through my own health journey. I have always been interested in nutrition and working out, but I really cleaned up my diet, really started exercising a lot, and just saw a big health change, and I was like, well, wow, I couldn't believe like how much I felt better, and I didn't even think I felt bad. And so I was like, okay, started making me really think about how much do I talk to my patients about food and nutrition. And I would really reflected back and was like, I don't talk to them about that at all. And as I was in school and I was going through internal medicine or OB or the different ones, we never talked about really food and nutrition, even when patients were diabetic, or, we would just say like, watch your sugar, and just kind of like let the patient kind of dictate that. So I really got on this mission of like, I want to bring more functional medicine in and give patients options. I know that not everyone comes in and is going to want to do the food and nutrition and exercise and labs to figure out their skin issues, but it's a great approach, and it gives people more options. And I think more people are coming around to that. So that was my kind of my vision. And then I really wanted to give a boutique experience where patients come in, they're not having to wait a long time. I worked in a general derm clinic for a long time, which I'm so grateful for that experience. I learned a lot. I had great mentorship, but we were always had long waits, 20 people out in the waiting room. And that's not the fault of the office. It's just how the healthcare system is set up. You are expected to see so many patients in a small amount of time just to make ends meet. And so I was like, I don't want that. I want when someone comes in, they get my undivided attention for a certain amount of time, and they don't think that I'm, preoccupied with what's going to happen. I have 20 patients in the waiting room, and I'm stressed out about that. So that's where the vision came from. And so God put it on my heart, and I, like most people, when they have to get outside their comfort zone, push back. I was like, no, God, I'm perfectly fine. Got a good job. I'm happy. I'm like, I can go to my job. I can work, and then I get to go home. And he just kept putting it on my heart over and over again. And so I was like, okay, let's do it. And so I prayed for a place for a long time. I looked around Midland. I couldn't find anywhere. That just really was what I felt like God wanted me to have. And my husband and I met a couple we love to travel. So we were going to Montana with our girls, and we met this couple, and they're like, we were telling them we were looking for a new church. We'd been out of church for a long time. And again, God was calling us out of that church to a new one. And so we started going to Midland Bible, and that's kind of a different location than where our normal routine was. And we were leaving Midland Bible, going down Mockingbird, and I saw Summit Center, and I was like, what is this? I haven't heard of this. I haven't seen anything about this. And so I'm an executor, so if I want something, I'm going to go get it. And so I was like, okay. So the Monday morning rolled around, I reached out to them and met with Matt Johnson to hear his vision of Summit Center, and was sold. I was like, this is it. This is where I want to be.
Now, it hasn't officially launched the entire Summit Center yet, but you're open right now. So you're taking patients. You're full open right now.
Yes, I'm fully open. Yeah, Summit Center, there's a few more businesses popping up here and there that are opening, but the actual full complex of like the park and everything should be open hopefully in September. So.
Okay. Now, there are pickleball courts that are being built there, and I understand that you've picked up pickleball.
Yes, I love pickleball.
So how good on a scale of 1 to 10 are you at pickleball?
Okay.
10 being good, 1 being not so good.
I would probably say I am about an 8.
Oh, 8.
So,
wow.
Okay, maybe 7.5, 8. But
that's impressive.
My husband and I play a lot. I mean, we enjoy it. I am very competitive, and I really enjoy it. It's fun. It's something you can easily pick up. You don't have to be like a tennis pro or anything like that. But no, we enjoy it. We have not played as much this summer. We've been busy with our girls and launching the business. But we, there's some tournaments coming up, so we're ready to play in them.
What's been the hardest part about launching this new business?
There's a lot of things. I mean, I've had a lot of pushbacks, and not from like people particularly, but like there was just, when you're opening in a new facility that, there's a lot of construction delays, and that are completely like out of your control. And so that was a big one. Just everything is like when you're setting up a business, it is the tech stuff to like figuring out how you're going to operate, the law behind it, the logistics. It's just a lot of things that have took place. And so I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot. And I've realized that anyone that has a business, I have so much respect for them, because there's so much that goes behind a business that no one ever knows. Like there's so many things that my husband and I stayed up late for, I cried over, I prayed over. But ultimately through it all, my faith has grown tremendously.
Great.
So
let's talk about dermatology.
Yes.
Right. I know that's probably a very broad spectrum. I know that my son struggled with eczema.
Okay.
I had acne growing up really bad. I don't know how I got over that. May not be over it. I don't know. And then my daughter struggles with dandruff issues and stuff. So maybe I get some free advice here on the show.
Yes.
But walk me through like dermatology. I mean, is that doesn't sound like the exciting careers like, when you're like growing up, you're like, I want to be a dermatologist or whatever. Did you have that growing up that you wanted to go into that field? And tell me what's
Yeah.
exciting about working in
So,
that field.
I love everything about skin. Well, I can't say everything. I love skin. I love helping people, and it's really something that I was probably about 7 when my mom got her first skin cancer. And I went with her to have that taken off. And I remember watching the dermatologist perform the surgery, and for whatever reason, I was able to stay in there. And I remember being like, I want to be just like this lady. Well, fast forward to when I was going to school, I'd kind of forgot about that. And I I had to get hours for PA school, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to get my hours for PA school, volunteering or shadowing. And so I met this girl in one of my classes and said, hey, I work at this dermatology and aesthetic office. You can come shadow here. They would love to have you. So that was like my first intro really into dermatology. And that PA was in aesthetics, and I had never heard of Botox. I'd never heard of like fillers or anything like that. And so I got introduced to that side of the derm aesthetic world. And their front desk staff was leaving and asked if I wanted to have the job. And I was like, okay, this is great. So they really mentored me. I'm super grateful for that experience because I learned the front desk stuff. I learned the insurance part of it. I learned the customer service. And then I worked there for several years. And then when I went to PA school, I was like, I loved what I did there. I loved how people could, everything is very visual, and I'm a visual learner. And so when people come in for derm, if they have acne or they have a rash or whatever's going on, they'll tell you it's either really bad or it's kind of mild. But when you can actually help them, they can, give you a scale of like how much better they feel. Like if you clear their acne, they're like, my acne's gone, or my pigment's gone, or whatever it is. And so they can visually see that. Whereas when you're like diabetic or have high cholesterol, a lot of that you can't see. It's all labs at your providers and, telling you that they're out of range, but you're like, I don't feel bad. And so what I really like is everything's visual, whether it was surgical, whether it's cosmetic, all general derm, it's all something that the patient can see the difference.
You mentioned your mom had some skin cancer. My dad has had 4 or 5, when he was alive, grafts removed and stuff. I probably have a few spots on me myself. I've always worried about that.
Right.
People tell me, well, it's because you're in the sun too long.
Right.
So is there some sunscreen mistakes that people make? I know we're coming out of the summer, so maybe this is something we can put in our heads for next year, but is there sunscreen mistakes that we make? Because I think that's where I'm getting a lot of my skin issues.
Yeah, there's actually a lot, there's so much to sunscreen. People think they just grab a sunscreen and like it's going to do good. There's a lot to sunscreens. Not all of them are created equally, but if you were to not go into all the science of sunscreen, you're like, okay, what do I basically need to do? I recommend that everyone wears a daily sunscreen on their face, neck, ears, and back of back of your hands, because those are areas we're just exposed a lot. And then if you're going to be outside for a long periods of time, like going to the beach or going to the lake or doing yard work, I recommend putting it on your arms and anywhere that's going to be exposed, and then reapplying about every 2 hours. So the big thing is reapplying. So even when you're wearing an SPF of 100, people think, oh, I wore an SPF of 100, I'm good for the rest of the day. But that's just a big misconception. You still have to reapply every 2 hours. So
if it's cloudy out, do you still need to wear it?
Yep. No matter
Really?
what. Yeah, so when it's cloudy, you're going to get more of the reflection. So like the sun's hitting and it's reflecting off of clouds and different things. And so actually you can get a really bad sunburn when it's a cloudy day. And a lot of people are like, wait, it was cloudy. I didn't even think about it. And so whether it's cloudy, it's rainy, it's, you're out skiing, any of those, I would just recommend to make it part of your daily routine to wear your sunscreen. That's one thing that I'm very my husband will tell you, when I met him, his skin was really bad. He freckles really easily. His sun damage was really bad. And he started wearing sunscreen faithfully and does. And so I've seen such a huge difference in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can probably tell on my skin here, I've got some spots, probably. In your best attention, what are you seeing right there? Is it some issues that I need to go take care of?
No, I mean, a lot of it's just sun damage.
Sun
so
damage?
when your skin is exposed to, everyone's skin's different. So when you look like you got like a little seborrheic keratosis here, which is a benign growth, nothing harmful, but a lot of the pigment, if you were to look from this side to the inside of your arm, you can see how much lighter this is. And that's because that area doesn't get exposed as much. So most people's skin, when it's exposed over and over, will produce extra pigment to protect. The more pigment you have in your skin in those areas, it's protecting, right? So, and so that's what your skin's doing over time. It's trying to protect. And so a tan is, just a sign of sun damage. So, yeah.
What should someone, either myself or someone listening, watching, if they get worried about those spots, what should they do? Should they reach out to you?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So like I can do skin checks. If someone needs biopsies, I'm not doing biopsies currently. I can freeze spots. If someone needs a biopsy, I can always refer you to, the dermatologist I used to work for, so he can do the biopsy. And if it needs to have surgery, then that can be done. But the things you're looking for is something that's growing, something that you're like, that looked a certain way and has changed, something that's new that just doesn't look like anything else, something that's not healing. Or I always feel like if something that feels like a little sticker that you can pick it off and it goes away and then it comes right back. Anything that constantly is coming back is always a sign that should be looked at, because that could be like a precancerous spot.
Okay. When we get into dermatology, I'm going to show you my ignorance here.
Okay.
I would just assume that's a female thing. When you go to the mall, you go somewhere and you see all the makeup places and you see all the lotions and all the things, and you go into my youngest daughter who's 19, you go into her bathroom, she has 1,000 different things in there. You go into mine, I have one lotion.
Right.
Right? So is the misconception is that it's mainly the needle is pointing toward women in skin and dermatology? Do you see that? Do you see men that come in with these issues?
Yeah, so I would say when I was seeing, my patients over at the clinic I was at, I probably saw 50-50. And a lot of my patients were older guys, and that's because they'd been out in the oil field working for all the years. And so they were coming in not because they wanted the aesthetics part or they wanted the skincare advice. They were coming in because they had precancerous or cancerous lesions just from all the years of being outside. And then I had the totally opposite. So I had that demographic, and then I had, the younger teen acne or rashes or different like eczema, different things. And then I had women that were coming in for like, skin cancer, skin checks, but also just more prevention and correction. So I think women, we tend to market to women more. They tend to care about their appearance maybe a little bit more. But the misconception is like that women are the ones that have to have skincare routines and guys can't. And so my big thing at my clinic is, I probably have more women coming in currently to see me, but that guys can get on a good skincare regimen, cleansing, doing a good scrub, getting on sunscreen. You don't have to make it complicated, but those things can help prevent and correct.
Part of it is, but I just don't have time, right? You're asking me to do all these things, right? To put on this and then whatever.
It takes
and stuff.
about 2 minutes is
2
what I'm
minutes
asking
to do
for.
all of that.
Yep.
Okay. You mentioned a while ago about injections and stuff. Do you do those in-house?
Yes. So I do all kinds of different injections. So I do filler, I do Botox, I do injections for hair loss. So that's where I kind of draw in more men.
Oh, okay. I'm in now.
I do. So
yeah,
there you go. Yeah. So my approach is a little bit different than a lot of people's. My approach is I want a really natural look. So I never want my patients to be seen and someone to be like, oh my gosh, they have had all this work done. That is not my goal. If someone can look at my patients and be like, oh my gosh, you've had a lot of work, then I haven't done my job well. My goal is to help, provide balance. We over time as we age, we lose volume in certain areas. And so my key is to treat the full face when I'm doing injectables, is so that you get a really natural look, and so that people just look at you and say, wow, you look so good. You look refreshed. You look just well put together, as opposed to, we've all seen the big lips or the bad stuff. We see that, but we don't, when we look at someone that's really well put together, very few people are like, oh my gosh, look at all her injections, which most of those people have had a lot of stuff. It's just done well.
Wow. You talk about faith a lot, and you brought up something just then that I want to touch on, because I've had this question. Do you get pushback from people who say we're not supposed to do anything to our body, right? So what God gave us is what we got, and so do you get pushback on that from people who say, "Oh, injection or whatever, that's bad, that's wrong, that's against the Bible or whatever"? How do you handle that?
So honestly, I haven't gotten a lot of pushback. I think that, but I can definitely see where that could come from. And my philosophy is, I always want to take care of myself in the best way, and I always want to take care of myself and age with intention. So that aging with intention can look different for everyone. And so if something you do is going to make you feel more confident and feel like you have more self-worth because you get a little Botox or you get, do your skincare or get injections, then who is it to say that we shouldn't do that? If that allows you to show up as a better mom, a better wife, a better business owner, then I'm all for it. Now, what I don't want is anyone, and I say no a lot in my practice, is if someone has, some body dysmorphic things going on and they're doing it for the wrong reasons, not because they're like, oh, if I'm starting to see this hollowness and I'm like, okay, I can see that too. That's going to naturally happen as we age. Let's address that. Then if it comes to a point where they're just so fixated on like everything and it becomes unhealthy, then I'll be the first person to say, like, no, I don't think you should do that. And I have those honest conversations with my patients. I think any of my patients would say that there's probably at some point something that I've told them no, that they didn't need because I just really didn't feel like that. And I always tell them, like, I'm sure you could go somewhere else and they would be happy to do that, but I'm looking out for you not just for the next year or next, I want you as a patient for the next 10, 15, 20 years is my goal.
It's a process.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
When I grew up, and I'll date myself here, grew up, my mom was always Merle Norman with makeup and all the things.
Yes.
Do you do traditional? Do you have some untraditional, non-traditional ways and things that you would maybe recommend?
So yeah, I would say my more non-traditional in the field I am in is more recommending more of the holistic part of like what I do. I think that is more of the non-traditional, and that's what I really want to blend. Because not everyone that comes into my office wants injectables, and I totally get that. They have, they've seen people that just don't look the way they want. Or they're just, that's just not what they feel is right, And so my big thing is I feel like if you, eat well, exercise, I feel like if you're happy, a happy individual, you have a good home life and all of that, and you're taking care of your skin, you're going to look great. They're going to look at you and be like, what are you doing? Because if you're happy, that's the most important thing, And so I always encourage that in all of my, appointments. I really try to encourage people to, take care of their health, because if you're not doing that, then everything else I'm doing is just quick, kind of more quick fixes.
Right.
And that's not what I want. I want someone to be healthy, feel good, and show up with their best version of themselves because they're doing all kinds of things to be the best person.
I love that. Yeah. So sidebar here, I've got really bad wrinkles and also the crow's feet, I guess.
Yes,
so
yes.
What do you recommend? Give me one thing I can go do to get rid of that.
Okay, to get rid of it, let's say
the process.
Yes. Okay, so I would say for you,
Yeah.
I would say sunscreen, because sunscreen's not going to get rid of it, but it's going to help so it doesn't get worse.
Okay.
And so, because we know that when you're out in the sun, that sun damage is going to cause you to lose elasticity, collagen, and just causes breakdown of the skin faster, and then your skin can't repair. So sunscreen's a great way, and that's something that I could get you to buy into and do easily. Now, if someone came in and they're like, I really don't like these crow's feet, Nicole, what do I do? If they're really etched in, you can start doing Botox, and that's going to, I just tell patients that is like a piece of paper that's folded over and over again. So when you're squinting, it's just a piece of paper you fold it over and over again, and that's creating those etched in lines. But if with Botox, you're stopping that contraction. So it's like a book, if you folded your piece of paper and put it under a book and stretched it out, over time you're going to see that soften, but you may still see that area. And so it would take several treatments of you being very consistent, plus good skincare, plus other things to get that etched out. So it's always really educating the patient on what their expectation is, because everyone has an expectation. So it's really setting that bar of what are they expecting out of this? So if they think they're going to spend, $300 and they're going to be completely made over and have a facelift, then then we really need to sit down and set those expectations. And because some people do, and they just don't know. If you don't know, then you have high, you're setting the bar really high. But then most people are pretty understanding, okay, I just kind of want them softened. I don't want them to go completely away. Some people will come in and say I'm 45 or I'm 55. I'm not trying to look like I'm 20. I just want to look better. And so that's when I go through in my consultations of really kind of what they feel comfortable with. I always start with skincare first because that's what you're doing morning and night. That's something you're doing every single day, and it's going to move the needle way farther than doing one Botox treatment or one chemical peel, because you're doing that one thing and then people want that to take care of everything. So if someone's budgeting money, I'm always go for skincare. It's way better investment.
How are you using social media in your business? Because I know you, excuse me, you mentioned earlier, people want to, they have a special look or they want to look a certain way or whatever. I would think younger girls maybe are infatuated or misled by what they see on social.
Yep.
And so they come in and say, oh, I got to look like this celebrity or I got to look whatever. Do you get that? And how do you combat and use social media to your advantage?
Yes. So, I really don't get that a lot. And I think it's because I draw kind of a specific client. I see younger people, but honestly, my clientele for overall is more middle-aged females. So I feel like they are, most people are pretty satisfied with their life. They have a career path. They're not trying to achieve something that's just unachievable. But I do hear in the industry all the time that people come in with filtered photos of themselves, and that's the expectation. And that's super hard because we live in a world where most people are putting filters on. We don't really know what people look like because they over filter, over makeup, all that stuff. And so they have this expectation if they look at celebrities and think that's what is normal. And so I think it's going to be a big problem for generations coming under, because they, probably for those, 18 under, maybe 20 under, that's really going to be struggling with that, because what they see is just not reality. I mean, you can AI so much stuff. I mean, I have friends that play around with AI all the time, and will send a photoshopped image of themselves doing all these crazy things, and you're like, wow, that looks just like you, But so I think that's going to be a big thing in the industry of how to tackle that, and really reminding people of most of the things they're seeing isn't reality.
I was going to ask that about AI, so I'm glad you touched on that. How is your new business that you launched? Tell me the name of it again.
Natural Skin Health.
Natural Skin Health. How is it and your team going to be involved in the community? Are you guys volunteering anywhere? How are you pouring into the community?
So one of my big values when I sat down and did values for Natural Skin Health was to be really involved in the community. I am on this mission that I'm going to make West Texas great. And I think that there's so many people that are really doing that. Since I've moved to Midland, Midland has grown in so many ways. I mean, there's so much more to do as for families and stuff like that. So my big thing is Natural Skin Health is going to, once a month, donate to a charity. My husband and I have certain ones that we love and we've given to for a long time. But, we'll find different charities. As I'm in this business, I'll be exposed to more. So we'll be able to give to a charity. So that's a big thing that I want to do. And then God has really put on my heart for my team and I to do two different things. Hopefully this spring they'll launch. So one is to do a pro bono acne clinic. And so I don't know exactly how I want to do that, but acne, coming to see a dermatologist, whether you're going to a general derm that takes insurance or to my practice, it costs a lot. It's, prescriptions cost a lot, skincare costs a lot, taking away time from work to come in, it costs a lot for a parent to bring in their kids. And so I know that not everyone has the access to that. And so I really want to, give back to the community and help educate on acne and some simple things they can do. And so really walk a few patients, and I don't know how many that will be when I first start, but walking them through where there's no cost to them. Wow. They can have their acne treatment, completely pro bono. They can see me, I can help them. And the goal is hopefully they're teenagers in high school, which is already complicated enough. And, if they're struggling with acne, just really help that self-confidence and self-worth.
Wow.
So that's really
awesome. Yeah.
So God, really put that on my heart a few years ago, and it's just, I'm finally at a place where I can do that. So I am super excited about that. I'm hoping like probably early spring that I'll start doing that and kind of walk a group of people to, kind of do group things to like help cut down costs. And then as they get good and kind of educate, I'm hoping that as they're getting fed all this information about acne, they can tell their peers about certain things. Not even to see me. It's more just like some of the myths that are about acne or different things. And then hopefully then I'll kind of graduate those people out and I can pull the next group in. And then the other one is that I did skin checks. I still do, but I did tons of them, and I would check people for skin cancers. And one of the things I had a lot of people come in for is like they would say my hairdresser noticed a spot on my head. And hair is kind of hard on women. Like when you're doing a skin check is like trying to part through all their hair to make sure that you're not missing something. So I always appreciate hairdressers looking and like telling the client, hey, like there's something going on. So I really want to do a event, a dinner, an educational series for hairdressers in Midland, Odessa. Host something where I kind of teach them what to look for and just really empowering them to like bring it up to the client. So they say like, hey, you should have this checked, or I've noticed this changing, or you have a lot in your scalp that you may not know about. I think you should have that. And so that's something else I really want to, I've had some young patients that have had skin cancers in their scalp, and honestly, they would have gotten missed, or the patient may have never even known if their hairdresser hadn't said something. So I just really want to educate. I mean, I'm big into education, so any way I can help the community through education and just making people more educated.
You mentioned earlier you're a visual learner and you have a team that's with you. What would you say, like in maybe a sentence or two, is your leadership style?
Yeah, so my leadership style is, I just hired my first 2 employees, so that's super exciting. They're younger and they're really ambitious, but I'm super excited about them.
Did you have to fly them in at night?
Yeah, no. Luckily, they were from West Texas, so they already knew what they were getting into.
Yeah.
My leadership style is very much in encouraging my staff, and even when the girls I worked with prior, is to really dream big. And so I'm a words for affirmation person. If you're doing something well or you're doing something above and beyond, I always try to compliment that and really point that out, because there's things that people do naturally that you may not even realize that you're going above and beyond, or you're doing that with excellence. And I really try to point that out. But my big thing is I love to encourage people, because I truly believe that God has a special plan for every one of us. And so many people dim that light because of, they've been made fun of for this, or they've been told no by friends and family, like, oh, no, that's not a good idea. And I would honestly think that most of the staff that I've worked with, and I've worked with a lot of staff from where I was too, they will all probably say that Nicole is like, you should do that. You should open that business. You should go for that dream. Like, I'm always encouraging. And so that's with the girls I have now, they're younger. And that's one thing that I really want to pour into them is, that you can dream big, that God has big plans for you, that just because someone tells you no doesn't mean that's no. It just means maybe not right now, or, just different things. So I'm very positive. That's how I like to be poured into. So that tends to be like how I pour into other people.
Wow, that's great. Great segue into kind of wrapping things up. I really appreciate your time. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
There's not a lot of competition out there, right? So it's not like there's 50 people doing that and doing it well. And so I applaud you.
Thank you.
I'm so excited that you're in the summit.
Yes, I'm so excited.
So yeah, I've got to come out there and see you.
Yes.
Now that you pointed out some of those things on my skin and stuff, but I want to circle back to something that you said earlier. You were talking about social media. You're talking about encouraging people. I read something on your Instagram, and it really struck me, and I just want to ask you what you meant by that.
Okay.
You said season of waiting is not a punishment. It is preparation.
Right.
What does that mean?
So in my time of waiting, like I mentioned earlier, I had it's from the time I committed to in my head that I was going to move on to this next chapter, it's been about 2.5 years. And so most people would be like, oh, it's because you procrastinate. That's probably what people would think. But I'm a go-getter. I'm like an executor. So if I have a to-do list, I'm going to make it happen. And there was just things that kept happening that were completely out of my control. And so one day I was praying, and I was praying. I was like, God, I don't understand. Like, am I not right? Is this not what I'm supposed to do? Was I completely wrong in understanding? And really what came to me, like, it was like not even just I feel like God always whispers to me, but this was very much like, it's not punishment. I'm preparing you because you're not quite ready. Like, I gave you this vision, but there's still things you have to learn. There's still things that you have to experience and connections you have to make in order to make this vision be what I want it to be. And it was at that point I was like, okay, it's in God's hands. Like, I need to stop worrying and stressing, thinking that, and I was, at that point I was probably doing things, trying to will things to happen, because I am ambitious, I am a go-getter, and so I was probably, trying to push along the agenda a little bit faster, and God was like, whoa,
Slow down.
My time, not yours, and you're not quite ready. And so, when God told me that, and it was like as clear as day, I was like, okay, I understand, and I'm going to be more understanding of what is going on.
And you like to pour into people.
I love
as you
it.
said that. Who do you let pour into you?
Yeah. So I love education. There's, if I have a second to get ready, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm doing stuff. So I have my podcasts that, those people, I feel like they're my friends, even though I've never met them. So I have some business podcasts. One I love is Jenna Kutcher's podcast called Gold Digger. It's kind of a business podcast. She's a female entrepreneur, and she kind of talks about entrepreneurship, marketing, life, so that's my go-to. I love that. But honestly, my husband plays a big role. I am very ambitious. I have big dreams that he's always like, whoa, let's figure out the logistics behind that. So he always pours into me. But honestly, he's so encouraging. He's like, always like, okay, go get him, and we'll figure out the rest. My mom is so awesome. I'm fortunate that she plays a huge role in my life, and she has always taught me to have a strong work ethic and to do everything with excellence. And so super grateful for her. But honestly, the person that pours into me the most is God. I have a strong faith, and I know that I would not be where I am without God. Like, I didn't will this to happen. God has a plan for me, and I'm just here, and I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to try to bring as many people, to faith as I can. I'm very open in my faith, and if you come into my practice, I'll pray for you if you need to be prayed for. Even if you don't want to be prayed for, I'm going to pray for you. And even if you say no, I would respect that, but I'll pray for you. And so, honestly, God, I read my Bible, and that's where I get a lot of my encouragement each day.
And we also go to the same church.
We do,
yes. That's awesome. Tell me in like a sentence. We want to wrap this up with this last question. What do you want to be known for?
I want to be known as a woman of faith that loves her family and truly cares about people.
That's awesome. I applaud you for starting this business. I hope it goes extremely well. I would love to come in.
Yes.
I'd love to bring my son in who's got the eczema issue, all the things, and get all my skin taken care of. So thank you for what you're doing in our community. I applaud you for that. So Nicole, everyone, make sure that you check us out at thecatwalkmediagroup.com. Also our nonprofit of the week, Midland Fairhavens. Check them out. Also like, share, and subscribe on all of our platforms. Thank you so much for joining with us. We'll see you next week.